What's up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and we are here on this good Sunday afternoon. Hope you guys are having a great Sunday so far. Mine is really good. But, you guys, we are here to discuss another episode of The Traitors. You guys, let's go ahead and get into this episode of The Traitors, you guys. Shall we? All right, you guys. So, this episode, it opens up, and we're still in a turret. And so it is with Danielle and Tattooed Kim. And so you guys remember in the last episode, they were debating on if they are going to recruit someone or if they are going to murder someone. You guys remember, Danielle wants to recruit Brittany, which I still think that was a dumb decision since everybody already suspects Brittany as a traitor. It didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, but whatever, girlfriend, do you? And so Carolyn was saying Gabby. I still think Gabby was not a good choice either. I don't know if I know earlier in the season we talked about Gabby, but at this point, since the guys just think it's two women with no factual evidence or anything like that, I don't think it would be a good idea to bring Gabby. Honestly, I didn't think it would be a good idea to bring a woman. I didn't think it was a good idea to bring a woman into the turret when the guys are already thinking it's women at the end, right? So they couldn't come. They couldn't come to an agreement on what to do. So they ultimately decided to go with murder. And I was like, okay, cool. I don't have a problem with that either, right? Now, what I did kind of look at and be like, I don't know if y'all should do that. So they were talking about either taking out Dylan or Sam. I was like, why would y'all take out Sam? People are just Sam had one thing that he gave that made some sense. Other than that, what has Sam done this entire season? For me personally, he ain't done nothing. But I was like, okay, if that's what y'all want to go with, I think y'all should have went with Dylan. I really believe that they should have went with Dylan, but they decided not to go with Dylan. So we'll get it. So we see as everybody's showing up to breakfast this next morning, right? So it came down to Dylan and Sam, and Dylan walked through the breakfast table. And I was again, like I said, confused about why they picked Sam over Dylan. And it seemed like that was Carolyn's decision to pick Sam. Again, I don't understand Dylan not going. I really think they should have went with. I think they should have went with Dylan over Sam, but it is what it is, right? So we get to this week's challenge, this mission, right? And I think in this mission they had the opportunity to get, I believe it was $20,000. I could be wrong. Yeah, they had the opportunity to get $20,000, right? So we see a big, huge chessboard, and on the chessboard it has each one of their names. So what happened is we got Parvati, she came back, and so did Kate. So we found out that the night before that the traders were asked a series of questions, and so they had to answer the questions, and the the group as a collective, they have to now figure out which way the traders answered the questions, right? So the first question was, and it was a snake. The first question was, who is slithering under the radar? And this one was kind of an easy question, you know. So they say that Brittany is the one that's slithering under the radar, and I agree with that. I do think that Brittany is slithering under the radar because Brittany hasn't really said anything she hasn't really spoken up at the round table. So I was like, okay, we'll definitely give that one to Brittany, that Brittany is slithering. So they got some money for that question, right? So then the next question was, and I think it was a skull, and it said, who is the biggest threat to the traitors, right? So this question, they answered it, and they're trying to get the scent off of them because they were saying that the biggest threat to them is Dylan, which again, if Dylan is your biggest threat, why didn't you take Dylan out last night? Like, I still don't understand that. If Dylan is your biggest threat, you would have gotten rid of him. But okay, they didn't get rid of him. But they didn't they didn't end up going with Dylan. They went with Brittany. But then Tom says he's the biggest threat. I was like, Tom, you are so off base. You're the biggest threat. I kid you not. I couldn't do nothing but laugh when Tom said that he is the biggest threat. You're the biggest threat. We're gonna talk about Tom because I have issues with Tom and Dolores. Like Tom and Dolores, for Tom to sit here and try to say he's the biggest threat, you go after people who are not traitors. Mine is Boston Rob, but you're the biggest threat. Okay, Tom. Whatever. If it floats Tom's boat, then it floats Tom's boat. But Tom, 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 no sir. So the next question was, it was a wolf, and the question was, who is the leader of the pack? So once again, Tom says himself. And even in the turret, the girls were like, you know, they feel like Dylan is the leader of the pack. But if they say Dylan, then it'll be the question of why is he still around, right? So they went with Tom because they feel like Tom is going to be too arrogant to not say himself. And Tom said himself. Tom said himself. And I was like, okay, Tom. And it was at this point that Carolyn started showing her hand, right? Because, they actually didn't say Tom. So they picked, no, they picked Tom because Tom was too arrogant. But the group, as a consensus, minus Carolyn, everyone feels that they would say Dylan is the leader of the pack, right? But Tom and Carolyn are like, well, Tom is making some valid points. So they went around and did a vote, and they're like, so everybody who feels like it's Dylan, raise your hand. Carolyn reluctantly raised her hand, and I was like, ooh, Carolyn, baby, I think you showing your hand. I believe you showing your hand, Carolyn. I was just like, eek, 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 eek. So they didn't get any money for that one. And then the final question was, it was a mouse, and it said, whose voice is the most irrelevant? And so Carolyn says that her voice is the most irrelevant, and that was the correct answer. So they ended up winning $10,000 towards the bank. Now, before we move forward, I will say that back at the castle before the mission is interesting because everybody was floating around Danielle's name. Even Dylan is floating around Danielle's name because Dylan's whole thing is, why is he still around? He feels like the traitors are taking him to the end because of loyalty and all that kind of stuff. And so he says his biggest ally in the game is Danielle. And I was like, Danielle, girl, you in trouble. You in trouble. Like, now, before we get to the round table, we see, as everyone, they're having their discussions with each other, right? So we see as Ivar is, which is so interesting that Ivar is still here. But again, no one suspects Ivar as a traitor, so it makes sense to keep. No one's going to banish him, so it makes sense to keep him around. But he's still on Danielle's trail, right? For some odd reason, Tom still feels that Dolores is a traitor. I was like, oh my God, Tom, please let that go. Like, you have been coming for Danielle. I mean, not Danielle, but Dolores you and Dolores basically are a waste of space at this point. Because Tom is going for Dolores. Dolores didn't really say anything because she was sitting with Ivar and with Danielle, and that's when Ivar told Danielle there's still some suspicion around her. And he also revealed that Carolyn is still floating Danielle's name around. So Danielle's like, okay, the gloves are off, right? We also see as Carolyn, aka Tattooed Kim, as I call her, and also you guys, y'all do know that when I call her Tattooed Kim, that's a joke, right? I know that woman's name is Carolyn. She just looks like Kim Zolciak, but tattoos on her. But it's nothing negative or personal against her because I actually do like Carolyn. So Carolyn is having a conversation with Dylan, right? So Dylan is talking about his two biggest allies being Carolyn and Danielle, and how he doesn't really want to make a decision between them. And so Karen is like, "So my name is being floated around," and he was like, "No, your name's not being floated around." Yes, it is because you mentioned her name in the van in the car on the way back to the castle after the mission to Tom, because your suspicion went from Danielle to all the evidence at the mission pointing towards Carolyn. So you lied to Carolyn, Dylan. You absolutely lied to Carolyn, but it is what it is, right? So then we get to we get to the round table. So at the round table, Ivar starts up once again. He starts it up and he's talking about the fact that he thinks that, the traitors are two women, right? So then after that, I forgot who said something, but at this point, it's Danielle versus Carolyn. Carolyn goes first, and Danielle then follows suit, right? Now, I did see that a lot of people on social media were upset about the comment about Forrest Gump from Danielle. Y'all, here's the thing. Because I actually saw the other day that Carolyn made a video with with a hat similar to what Danielle has been wearing this entire season, and she addressed Danielle. And you guys know there. So if you guys don't know, I think there are two more episodes left of this season. So we get next week's episode, and then the following episode will be the finale, and then we'll get to the reunion right after that. So, because if I'm not mistaken, last season, if you guys are watching, you guys can tell me, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like last season the reunion, the season finale, that Thursday we got the season finale and the reunion together. So I think next week is going to be we're going to get next week's episode, and then the following Thursday, which is March 6th, if I'm correct. Yep, March 6th. So March 6th, we will yeah, March 6th is going to be the finale. So we'll get the finale plus the reunion. Now, back to the round table. Hey, Kira, how are you doing today? Hope you're having a great Sunday. What was I talking about? Oh, so yeah, I think next week is just gonna be one episode. Then the week after that is the finale plus the reunion. Yeah, we're wrapping up this. Yeah, the season is wrapping up. The season is gonna end on March 6th. So yeah, the reunion and the finale are gonna be on the same night. Let me pull it up. Let me pull it up. But yeah, the reunion is coming. It's coming up pretty soon because we only have like I said, we only have two more episodes. Because next week is just one episode next week, and then because the Traitors UK comes on, they drop all 12 episodes of the Traitors UK on the finale of our Traitors. So yeah, we got two more episodes plus the reunion, which I'm looking forward to it. I'm ready to see how these people react to. I'm ready to see how the reunion is gonna play out. Hey, Shayna, you said I'm not watching this season, but stopping by to listen and like, oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm having a great day. I'm having a good day so far. Can't complain. Oh, because y'all know American Medicine comes on tonight, and I just saw something from Dr. Heavenly that really pissed me off, and I'm gonna address it tonight because Dr. Heavenly is so fucking ignorant. I'm gonna read Dr. Heavenly tonight on my review. I'm going to read Heavenly because you disrespected a whole community of people with the ignorant statement, and your son is a part of that community. But that's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there. But we'll get into your Heavenly. So at the roundtable, like I said, it's interesting. These are honestly, these faithfuls are terrible. I've never saw a more terrible group of faithfuls. The traitors have to point out the traitors for you guys to get a traitor. Like, my God, today, Boston Rob pointed out Bob the drag queen. Um, Boston Rob made himself obvious as a traitor. Carolyn, not Tattooed Kim, aka Carolyn. Carolyn really didn't make herself obvious. Danielle put it out there that Carolyn was a traitor, and then Danielle is just obvious. But I think when it comes to Danielle, I feel like here's my thing, you guys. When it comes to Danielle, I think the reason why we feel like Danielle is a bad traitor is because we know Danielle is a traitor. These people don't know that Danielle is a traitor. Speaking of Danielle, real quick, Chriselle had something to say last week about Danielle and the fact that Danielle swore on her grandkids. Girl, it's a game. I don't think she really meant that shit. But me personally, I would never do that. I would never do that. But okay, Chriselle, you were just a terrible faithful. Kira says, "Oh no, Heavenly, yes, Heavenly. Oh God, it's all over. It's all over Twitter. But I don't think you're on Twitter anymore, Kira, are you? But it's all over Twitter. It's on Instagram too. Yeah, she made a comment about gay people and the whole real man versus not a real man thing. I'll talk about it if you got. I'll talk about it in my Married to Medicine review. I will talk about it in my review. These faithfuls are not game players. It's so bad. It is. Two in particular, Dolores and Tom. Dolores and Tom. Oh my God, I don't know what the hell Dolores and Tom are doing. So we get to the vote, right? The votes. So ah, the votes. The votes. Not you said I'm still there, unfortunately. The votes. The votes. The votes. So let's go with the two wasted votes. Dolores votes for Tom. I said, say what now? Tom votes for Dolores. I said, say what now? Okay, so there's one vote for Dolores, one vote for Tom. Then there were two votes for Danielle. So Gabby voted for Danielle and Carolyn voted for Danielle, right? And I was like, okay, that makes sense. But Dolores and Tom, y'all throw away votes for no damn reason. Kira says, Tom just says whatever. It's like, where did you get that from? Exactly. But the same with Dolores. It's like, y'all are voting for each other. Dolores would be a terrible traitor, and Tom would be a terrible traitor too because Tom is full of himself. So then it came down to so there were two votes for Carolyn, and then at one point it was two votes for Danielle, two votes for Danielle, two votes for Carolyn. So Danielle voted for Carolyn, and Brittany voted for Carolyn, and so the deciding vote came down to Dylan. And Dylan ultimately voted for Carolyn, who was banished. And so Carolyn revealed to the group that she was a traitor. What I will say about Carolyn is, although she's quirky and a little eccentric, I like Carolyn. I think she played a phenomenal. I think she played a good game for what what she was, the hand she was dealt. Right, I think she played a great game. Danielle, I love Danielle. I'm a Big Brother fan. I can't say her. Here's the thing. I don't know if I want to say her game is good, and I don't want to say her game is bad, right? Because as a faithful, The faithfuls, they're terrible. The faithfuls are just atrocious. So I can't really say that Danielle is playing the best that I think she could play. But with these group of people, I will say she's doing damn good because they brought her name up multiple times, but nobody has banished Danielle. Like nobody. And now the numbers are dwindling down because at this point we have Danielle and Brittany. They're aligned with each other. We have Gabby. Who did Ivar vote for? I forgot. See, Ivar is so forgettable. Who in the hell did Ivar vote for? I think Ivar voted for Carolyn. I think Ivar voted for Carolyn, if I'm not mistaken. Or did he vote for Danielle? Either way it go, Carolyn went home. But we're down to Ivar, Gabby, Dylan, Brittany, Danielle, and Tom and Dolores. This is a pitiful group. So after the roundtable, Danielle is overacting. I told you guys I was faithful. Danielle, I don't know who you're trying to convince with this acting and this shaking and this crying. Honestly, it's really gotten on my nerves. You didn't even do this in Big Brother. You've never done this in Big Brother. So I don't know where this is coming from. And I want you to return it to the sender. So after the round table, we see as Gabby is talking to Danny, not Danny, she's talking to Brittany and I believe Tom. With Tom, it's like talking to you might as well talk to a brick wall because Tom is not going to listen to what you're saying. Tom is going to make up something in his own head and he's going to run with that. But Gabby thinks that it might be infighting with two traitors. And I was like, you're absolutely correct. Are y'all going to execute on that? Is the question. I don't believe y'all going. I don't know if y'all are going to execute, but even if y'all do execute, I don't know if y'all have the numbers. Technically, y'all could have the numbers. Y'all could have the numbers, but you have two people who waste votes, i.e., Tom and Dolores. So you would have to get Tom and Dolores on your side. And the thing with Dolores is aligned with Danielle. And I don't think that Dolores would vote against Danielle. So I think you can count out. So you would have 3 votes because it's going to be 6 people next week. After this episode, we'll be down to 6, right? So you would have to flip Dolores and Tom because I'm pretty sure Dylan can get Ivar and Gabby to vote with him, but then you have to work on Dolores and Tom because Brittany and Danielle are gonna are gonna defend each other. Kira says she ticked me off. I was like, Danielle, get up and stop. Exactly. But it was I cracked up laughing when she hopped up from that chair and ran to that corner. I was like, girl, you are doing the most. You are doing the most. So after that, we see as Danielle made it to the turret, right? And so Alan came up to the turret and Alan told her basically what happened last season with Kate. When it came down to Kate being the final traitor in the castle, she was able to recruit someone else. Did she recruit somebody else? Oh no. Kate was the last recruit. It was with Phaedra after Dan got sent home, right? Dan got sent home. Phaedra was the last traitor standing. She was able to recruit somebody. They had the choice of accepting her offer or they would perish, right? So that's what's going to happen here. So Danielle has the opportunity to recruit someone and she's going to do it face to face. And I was like, okay, cool. Now, amongst this motley group of people, I don't know if I wouldn't want to pick any of them to be a traitor, to be quite honest with you, because they're all God. So we're at the last group of people. But Danielle ended up picking Brittany, and I was like, I don't know if that was a smart choice to pick Brittany when people already suspect you and Brittany. Well, technically, the only person who suspected Danielle and Brittany was Sierra, but I think Sierra's put that bug out there that, hey, let's look at these two. They may be traitors. I don't think that's going to work in Danielle's favor. I don't really know if it's going to work. We'll see. We will see. Because, like I said, you guys, we only got 2 episodes left. And I think if not this, if I think after this week's episode, they're not going to reveal if they're a traitor or not. Because it was said once we got down to the finals, they're not going to at banishment. They're not going to reveal if they're faithful or if they're a traitor. So the fact that they got Carolyn, I think that's going to be the last time that they. I think that's going to be one of the last times that they know who's a faithful and who's a traitor, right? Because also next week's episode, they're introducing a new power, and it's called the power of the seer, which we don't know anything about it. But I think next week's episode is going to be the last. Well, shit, since it's the episode before the finale, I don't think they're going to find out who a traitor is. Like when I think about this situation, so Danielle picks Brittany, right? So Alan lets her know once she has picked her traitor, if they accept her offer, then they will then proceed with murder, right? If y'all don't get rid of Dylan, that's gonna be your best bet is to get rid of Dylan. Dylan or Gabby, one of those two gotta go. No ifs, no ands or buts about it. Dylan or Gabby has to go. You can't waste it on Tom. You can't waste it on Dolores, and you can't waste it on Ivar. Those are 3 people that are not going to be banished. Even and that's saying a lot. Saying about Tom. Kira says it wasn't a good choice, but that's who Danielle wanted to pick. She should have tried to get a guy. That's what I was thinking. That was what I was thinking. But when I think about it, you only have one guy that you can pick from. You wouldn't. I would not want. I would never pick Tom. Ivar. That one. I don't think that will work in her favor. I don't think Ivar would work in her favor. And Dylan. I don't like picking a guy. I don't honestly don't think it would help her. It would help her game because they would still think of a. Oh God. Because honestly, I feel like they're gonna pick the women off. Well, they don't have the numbers. I mean, the only obvious choice for a guy would have been Dylan, and that's what I was thinking about. I think she should have went with Dylan because I think with Dylan she could make it to the end with him. No, she couldn't. I don't think she could make. I don't think Danielle would have a chance of making it with a guy, and here's why. Because if she picks, let's just say she picked Dylan, right? Now that they would be traitors, Dylan now has to work. Dylan or anybody would have to now try to convince Tom and Ivar that Danielle's not a traitor. If they want to make it to the end with her, they would have to convince them somehow that she's not a traitor. So you have to try to flip it to the only person that you could flip it to at that point would be Brittany. Because again, nobody says, well, Dylan has, you know what? You would flip it to either Brittany or Gabby. Because at one point, Dylan has mentioned Gabby's name. Dylan has mentioned Gabby's name. Interesting. But I still don't think I know for a fact Brittany wasn't the best choice, the right choice. Kira says I don't think Dylan will flip. Well, if he don't flip, he's gonna go home. And I thought you thought it may be Ivar. Yeah, Ivar. I would think Ivar, but here's the thing. If they know that here's the thing. I would say Ivar, but the problem with Ivar would be, I think that if these people were smart faithfuls, they would realize the traders are down at least one, right? And so they have to either recruit somebody or not. And if they recruit somebody, here's the thing with what Ivar. If I were playing this game, I would think if they recruited somebody, they would go the least obvious person. And the least obvious would be, unfortunately, Ivar, because again, nobody suspects Ivar. Nobody would go after Ivar. So Danielle's in a pretty impossible position, in my personal opinion. I just don't think she should have picked Brittany. Brittany was not the right choice. If she wanted to pick a woman, she should have picked Gabby. Or at least, no, hell no. I was gonna say Dolores, but absolutely not. But yeah, you guys, that was the episode. Like I said, so next week we have next week's episode, and then after that, ooh, I gotta figure out how to do that. So I'm gonna do a episode. Well, it's gonna be the same. So we're gonna do the finale and the reunion in one whole live, and we'll wrap up the season. Overall, you guys, although these faithfuls and these traitors have been terrible to me, I've enjoyed season 3 of the Traitors. And I said I'm gonna watch some of the other versions of Traitors, like Traitors UK. I'm gonna watch them and see what they give, and if I like them, we'll definitely figure out some time to talk about them. But that's it, you guys. I will catch you guys later. So you guys know tonight is the Real Housewives of Potomac season 9 reunion part 2. So we won't go live until Monday for part 2, because you guys know I watch the reunions on Peacock. Mirror to Medicine, baby. I'm gonna have that one up tonight for you guys, because I am going to address Dr. Heavenly and her comments. Then we also have baddies, unfortunately, you guys. But yeah, you guys, that is it. That is all. I'm gonna get off of here and get out here and enjoy the rest of my day. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday, and I will see you guys in the next one. Until then, you guys, doing us all a favor, please stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves. Wash your hands. Be blessed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.